Hey, Jonathan. So, of your generation, you're really like the probably most famous tattoo artist, right? Certainly a legend by now. Probably legendary for more than just tattooing, but we're going to talk about that. I know that you left home when you were a teenager, and I know you spent a lot of time traveling around the world and on ships. And where did it start for you? Observing tattoos, becoming interested in being a tattoo artist?
Well, I saw my first tattoos as a young kid, just like on bikers and sailors and just lowbrow types around. It just engraved itself in my imagery. It's always been in the back of my head. I started traveling, like you said, obviously, a kid just running around the world looking for whatever, adventure. And tattoos were always around. There was guys wearing tattoos, I was hanging out in bars and around sailors and pimps and hookers. I mean, this is back in, way back in the day, and, there's tattoos were just this ever-present iconography that was like just there.
Really like much more of a underworld kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you traveled all around a lot in Latin America, South America. Is that when you first started tattooing?
Yeah, that's when I first really started getting up close and personal with tattoos, just like being around, like old salts that had tattoos and seeing them on people, and then I started getting them, hand-picked jobs and shit like that. At some point, I was in a tattoo place getting a real tattoo, like my first, whatever, rite of passage, a young guy getting his tattoo, and I observed the process and said, I could do this. And it was more of a lifestyle thing for me, because back in the day, that's the way it was. It was something more than art and personal statements and whatever, it was just
yeah, it's changed a lot.
Oh yeah, big time.
But you're to me, you're like a bridge, because you come from that old school. I know you had mentors like Bob Shaw and Colonel Todd, that you worked with them in Long Beach in California.
Yeah.
But you come from that place of tattooing hookers and sailors and bikers and criminals, and you don't come from art school, and it's not against younger tattoo artists that come from a more different place, but you're sort of the bridge of that, because you've influenced a lot of the next generation, but your roots come from that old school generation.
Yeah, well, that was what there was back in the day. That was the available pool of talent. These were the guys that I had to go and pay serious dues with, get close to this thing.
He respected you too. He sort of took you under his wing, Bob Shaw.
Well, I had to clean a lot of toilets. I had to get through out a lot of drunks and mop up a lot of vomit. That's how it was back then. To a certain degree, that's how it is, today. I mean, things seem to just come full circle. Everything just sort of goes in this thing. I mean, I remember tattooing, 25, 30 years ago when I first, got into it, and I see it today, and I see it, in between in that transition period, and there's, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Right now, it's kind of down to, it's what it was, it's what it is, it's what it will be, and, there's a lot of crossover, there's a lot of different mixes coming into the soup. A lot of shit's moving a lot faster today. There's a lot of young, new ideas which are coming in and being just sucked into vortex and getting spit right back out again. And, you know, it's a popular art form. You got the general public in there throwing their needs and demands into the thing, and you adapt to that, or you go out like the dinosaurs. So,
well, you started a lot of things. Like, I mean, I know you for a long time. I know you really you have a real deep interest and knowledge of the history of tattooing. I've seen your collection of flash and old school stuff. But you're also known, you know, you've been labeled like the father of like tribal or neo-tribal. You've done, you know, they label things that then become really like fashionable or
trendy.
Really, yeah, spread like trends. Does that like bother you at all, or does it always, I mean, I know you always do all different types of things. In fact, you're the first tattoo artist that I know of that used like cubism in some of your stuff.
It's, I've been fortunate to have, you know, certain people that were willing to, you know, let me take it that step further. I don't have an art school background. I don't have, you know, I'm a high school dropout, you know, and I got into tattooing through those channels, just through the lifestyle of traveling around and being around it, and everything was real spontaneous. And as it developed and the skills and abilities developed, you know, I was fortunate to be in the right place at the right time and be around people who were like coming into like the crossover period, punk rock meets what's available, and I was there ready to rock and roll with people coming to me and going like, you know, let's just do something. Let's just go wild. I got lucky enough to do a lot of stuff that now might be looked upon as like cutting edge. At the time, it was just sitting down and making shit.
But you always are looking at books and historic. I mean, you know, I know you're interested in design of all kinds. I know you're also, you've been an editor of like Tattoo International. You've been an actor. You've been, you know, but somehow tattooing. I mean, well, I guess because you're so well known as that. But things come from a lot of different places for you into your work. So, like tribal type stuff came from what? Stuff primitive?
Just sort of came together. It was like experimental. People were very open-minded. At the time when that shit sort of developed, there was certain, you know, historical, ethnic roots stuff that goes back thousands of years that was available as sort of like a base to start from, and from there I just sort of threw in my own flavor, which is always heavily influenced by the interaction with the person you're working with, the client, the tattooee. It's always been a collaboration. I mean, especially in that time when things were like really starting to like change real fast and possibilities seemed sort of like limitless, and I was just real fortunate to be